never about just settling, you know. It had to always be upgrading. We always gotta upgrade, always gotta do better than what we was doing before, you know. And the whole opportunities that's available to us, we don't even know about it, you know. The problem is the lack of the information. If we had more information in our inner city communities, we'll be better off, you know. New York, what we got? Crime, poverty, you know, it's same across the globe, right? But the thing about New York that I find interesting is that, and this happens across the globe, a lot of places, right? You will have a mass amount of wealth in one area. 5 minutes away, it's poverty. It's a lot of crime, you know. And as a young kid growing up in Brooklyn, I used to travel on a train from Brooklyn to Manhattan. So in Brooklyn, I would see maybe 1 or 2 Mercedes-Benzes, you know, once in a while. Drove by a lot of different, you know, drug dealers maybe, or, you know, if they were black, I would, you know, and I'm only assuming based on what I see as a young kid, what I saw. I saw young men, only way to really get you some money was selling drugs, you was robbing people, you was committing crimes. I didn't know too many productive young black men as a young kid that had money, right? So I'm like, why is this? Why we have to commit crimes for money? Why? Like, you know, I didn't understand that. You know, and as I started getting older, I realized that it was just about information. We didn't have the information or the knowledge to obtain wealth at a young age, you know? And the problem was our parents, most young black men and women growing up in the inner city, our parents didn't even know. You get what I'm saying? So how can we learn something that our parents didn't even know? Because we're taught at home a lot of times. So okay, we're taught at home, we're taught go to school, get your education, go to college, right? And hopefully you can become something. I had to find out the hard way that that's not the truth. So by the time I'm in, you know, high school, I'm seeing, you know, best friends dying, you know, people getting killed, dudes just getting locked up doing a lot of time just for selling drugs, or, you know, a lot of different reasons. But I wanted this information. I didn't know how to get it. It was, you know, we didn't have this information. So as we started to obtain it, you know, as we started to learn more, and really I'm talking about, you know, I'll just be real. I'm 40 years old, so I'm talking about the 90s growing up in high school. We didn't really have too much information. That was before the .com boom. You know, that was, I just started to learn about the internet. I heard about the internet like, how can I say? I think it was probably like the late 90s or something. I started hearing about the internet. But we didn't really know what it was. We didn't know how to utilize it. So these tools were starting to grow before us, and we didn't know nothing about it. Right? So here we are, young kids trying to get money. We want this information, we don't have it. I started going into Manhattan, and that was right over the bridge, 10 minutes away, 3 stops probably from downtown Brooklyn on a 2 or 4 train. So I would start going into Manhattan, and I started to see young white men driving Bentleys, Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis, all of these expensive vehicles, and I'm like, wow. You know, before that, I was just thinking Mercedes-Benz was the best car out, right? So, as I started to do more research, I started just fishing for information. So I started to, you know, just hang out around Wall Street. Hang out, like on my spare time sometime, I would go into Manhattan, and it fascinated me, all the tall skyscrapers, all of these buildings, right? So I'm there one day and I'm hanging out, I see this guy pull up in a Bentley, this white guy, and I'm just like, I ain't even know how to approach him. I just, you know, just like, yo, my man, what what do you do to get a car like that? He looked at me. He said, yo, I'm a stockbroker. So from there, I'm like, wow, stockbroker. You know, I act like I knew what he was talking about, but, you know, he pulled off so fast. So from there, I'm like, yo, what's a stockbroker? I want to be a stockbroker, you know? So I started trying to research this. I started reading little books, but I didn't really know. You know, I know what to do, but just I didn't know how to do it. So as time progressed, you know, I got caught up in the streets, got sidetracked. You know, from there, you know, I had multiple charges for different stuff. People was accusing me of stuff, shooting, whatever the case, right? Fast forward, years later, you know, I went on a run. This dude accused me of shooting him right before I was about to graduate from school, high school. And I ended up going on a run, fighting my case, whatever, years later, to, you know, being accused of multiple other crimes. By the time I was probably 30, I was still committing crimes for money, right? So I ended up going on a jewelry store heist, being the driver, right? So I'm thinking we're gonna get this fast money, everything's gonna go smooth. Short story short, it didn't work out that way, you know? So, it didn't work out that way, right? So, short story short, I ended up doing some time, right? And during my incarceration, for this jewelry store heist, right? I met this Jewish dude, Moshe. And Moshe was in there for, you know, multiple crimes of all kind of scams, right? Wire fraud, different names like that. I know about robbery, Hobbs Act, murder, stuff, charges like that. He was in there for charges like wire fraud and names that I ain't even never heard of before meeting him. Charges that I never heard of before meeting him, right? So I asked him, one day we're talking, boom, 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 and he started telling me about all of these scams with Wall Street, right? And I'm like, what? You know, he started telling me about how, you know, all these different scams they pull, taking people money, different things like that. So I asked him, I said, yo, why you just ain't do it the right way? Because I met a stockbroker before. He says, like, nah, you know, I was being greedy. I just wanted to be greedy. I wanted all the money now, right? I'm like, okay, I understand. You know, he's telling me in a different way, right? I'm like, so how did you trade stocks? He said, it's simple. Trading stocks is easy. I saw him getting a Wall Street Journal every day, following all these current events, right? So he showed me how to trade. I ended up talking to my wife, telling her what to do about trading stocks, and we started making money. It wasn't that simple. It took a while to follow the stocks, to really know the trades, what to do, when to buy, and that was more long term. And that was initially like when I first heard of Bitcoin in 2011, and I told my wife about it, which, thank you, Moshe, it was a good investment. I told my wife about it. She ended up finding out how to invest few $100 that we had, right? And then that few $100 turned into a few $1,000. That few $1,000 turned into several $1,000, so forth and so on. Anyway, by the time, you know, during my incarceration, I continued to study stocks, right? So by the time I was released, I acquired all this information. To trade stocks. And that's how I became successful, because I was able to sit down, study, and trade stocks. And once I found out how to do it, I'm able to pass this information on. Because when I was at a young age, I didn't have nobody to talk to. I didn't have no resources. And this is why I want to share these resources. I want to share this information with you.